Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadeem, and I'm working at Loblaw and leading the data science team, and particularly the use case that I brought in is leading people analytic. How many of you you know about people analytic, or in your organization they're doing something about people analytic, workforce analytics, or HR analytics? Only a few hands. I think it is a good session then to learn something about people analytic as well. And that's a use case that brought in because in people analytic we work with HR a lot of the time. And when we're working with HR, my team is more on the data science, very technical, and on the other side, the HR that is more kind of a non-technical. And then we're going to look into that. How we actually brought that gap closer, bridge that gap, bringing some strategies into the mix. Let's look at that balancing technical expertise and look at the intersection between that. Normally, what happens that, and every organization, like they're doing it right now, business works, it's silos, different problem, and data science in silos. What we did that in our organization in Loblaw, we put data science team into the technology side, and also same time working with the business. And then what it did that, we both come into the same room and then discuss the product in the beginning and in the planning session. And as well, when they work in the silos, there's a lot of problem come in. And then one of the thing that a previous presenter mentioned that the security piece, that because working in HR, there are a lot of PII data involved as well. How we do that? Because we work in technology, we work with the security and privacy at the same time and making sure that we use the right information, tokenized and as well as hashed information, and not using the individual that can be identified in our modeling and analytic purposes. And the people analytic, as I say that's where they're bridging the gap. And how we bridge the gap, we introduce some of the roles in the organization. One of the role was the engagement manager. The engagement manager was becoming a bridge between our data science team or analytic team and on the other side, having some knowledge on the business side, HR. They're bringing them together. And because sometimes HR uses a different terminologies, and how many of you know here that how the HR calculates the turnover or statistically calculating a turnover? Anyone knows an employee turnover? They're calculating employee leaving an organization. If I normally ask the statistics person, they're like, number of employee leave divided by total number of employee. That's not the turnover HR uses. HR actually look in different way, holistically, around the 12-month period, what is the starting headcount we had. So that's what we did that. We bring them into the closer. That person, an engagement manager or translator, we brought them into the mix, that taking the requirement and translating into the back to the technical team. And the technical team was when they keep providing an insight, working with the side together, providing more business-oriented insights. Next, we're going to look at that importance of data-driven strategies. And data, as of course, the critical asset, it's not an optional anymore. The companies that those harnesses into the centralized of their strategy, they actually get the most value out of it. And then also what it does, it drives innovation, efficiency, and a growth. And then also, sometimes what happens that because they're working in the silos, that brings a lot of misalignments as well into the two different teams. If, for example, data science, analytics teams, what is the most important for them? Clean data, data accuracy, making sure that we get the data available all the time. What's important for the business is the outcome. They're not looking for that, okay, you have the clean data or not, what I want that, how can I generate more revenue? Or in terms of HR side, how can I keep my employees engaged, more productive, and then also making sure that they stay in the organization so that can reduce our cost of not hiring. If you look at the normally that in any enterprise side of an organization, it costs about $60,000 to $70,000 to actually, if you look at studies, to actually hire one person because it adds the recruiter's cost as well as the loss of productivity, all that. To keeping in there, what should we do? What kind of a data we just add into the model? So we both work together to making sure we have all the data available at all level. And then when we do that, we look at the life cycle of the employee from hiring as well as to the leaving. In between, you see different time periods, different time events, I said, we just put into the data models. And I say that role of the engagement manager, translator, that helps us. And sometimes what we did that for some particular project, we bring into the business people into the project. And what happens then, when they both work together, data science team learn the business. They make sure that they understand the business area, and the business understand how we actually operate, how we build model. It's not gonna, it's not, we cannot deliver insight in just 2 weeks, that because normally in an organization, they take 2 weeks to actually get the data from the different teams, and then you clean it up, provide some insight, and most of the time, even if you can do it with providing some dashboards as well. We're going to look at that divide in technical expertise and business acumen. And that same thing, technical side of it, both technical and business, they both speak the different language. We all know that. And for example, one of the examples is that if a data scientist going into the business, I'm going to run a model, and that to the marketer, they both have the different definition of the model. For revenue side of it, for a revenue marketer, they understand that I run a revenue model, revenue growth model, but data scientist, maybe, I ran XGBoost. And the business comes in, oh, what is it? Can you explain it to me? So what we did that, making sure that common language, common understanding, and then involving them in the beginning of the step, rather than in the middle when you start a project, and then halfway through you realize that, yes, we need a data scientist or our analytic people to actually deliver some insights. And also, the misguided strategy, that's what we're looking at, when technical and business perspective do not align. Because technical, as I said earlier, technical team look at that centralization of data. When I have the data at the one place, then I can deliver insights. And I have access to everything, then I'll be able to deliver insights. On the business sides, what they do, that I need to growth. I need to look at that, how my customer satisfaction is, and then how can I actually do it quickly. There's a lot of pressure on the business side as well to deliver those insights. And then not only the insight, also to meet those targets. And then for us, we are helping them to meet those targets. And how can we meet that? Same thing, work with them together. And then when we're together, they're learning, and we're also learning their side as well. And I gave an example of the translator. When you bring in the translator, sometimes what we did that actually, we brought the business and ended up actually keeping in our team because they learn our processes as well. They become business expert. They are the business expert as well as on the other side, analytic expert. A lot of organizations working on having a citizen data scientist because those stay in the business and they understand business as well. So that also worked into our bridging that gap. And also, challenges. One of the biggest challenges, I mentioned that communication barrier. And also, the misaligned opportunity, cross-functional understanding, like lack of mutual comprehensions to each of their goals. And another thing is that collaboration issue. Then when it comes to the collaboration, it's not that I set up a meeting after 2 weeks and then we sit together and understand that. Involving them into the daily routines and then talking to them, making sure that any issues that are coming in there, we just tell them right away. And then a lot of the time, business knows their data very well, but they don't know how to get it. And then we are there to help them that, okay, we know we can get it, but you just tell us. And also informing them how these correlations work. As I gave the example of the turnover, for organization, it's important to know that how can we reduce the turnover, but most important is that what drives the turnover. How can we look into those models? And what are the different data we needed? I can just go tell that, yeah, you have employee turnover 40%. And then an organization comes in, yeah, our target of next year is 35%. How can we reduce that? For that, you need the data. But what we need the data when you work with business, they tell you that. We do the engagement surveys, we collect that data, exit surveys, as well as we have a lot of employee data, promotions, a lot of events happen. We collect that, combine it, and run it through the model. When you're running it through the model, you get an output. And now, when you're going to present that, that's where the communication comes in. What do we need to present? Can I go in and say that, yeah, we run a model, and these are 3 outputs, just use it and work? No, what we need to talk to them, what are the drivers? Drivers of keeping them into the organization. Not only that, drivers, what drives them out of the organization, so we can actually work with those who are keeping them in organization, not leaving, not thinking about that. And then a lot of time models comes in that figure out, yeah, maybe there is a salary issue that we haven't got a salary increase for a certain amount of time. We can tweak it. And we tweak those models, and then how would you find out? And then we work with them with their own languages. A lot of time organization run those in terms of the increases. They run off-cycle increases because they do market adjustments. They said, and then while working with HR, you figure out that, yeah, you're doing an off-cycle increases for employees, but then you're also telling them for the lot of the time period, you're paying them less. Now they figure out that also take them out of the organization. But how do we communicate to them properly? It's not just the market adjustment, it's also your performance as well, that we're acknowledging that you're working well in the organization. Another piece is that data literacy. That's the most important in the organization. So how we do that in our organization, in the people analytics, we brought them together, and then we started creating our own data dictionary, and then making sure that we all talking the same language. Same example of the termination rate versus the turnover. For us, is the termination rate. For them, is the turnover. How do we calculate an engagement that we can actually talk the same language? And what do you look into the exit survey? So we actually make sure that we are talking the same thing when we meet next time. Setting up those knowledge share session that we all align and learn from each other. And also aligning the goal. And the most important role is the engagement. So we introduce engagement managers within the mix. And then for Loblaw, we have many divisions. And each division, we introduce that engagement manager. We brought in the business people who has the knowledge of the technical knowledge, because business also has those technical folks there working with them. Brought them into the central team and making sure that they are talking the same language. And talking the same language means that we brought in the people from HR professional, working as an analyst in HR. They understand their different areas. We brought some from the compensation, brought someone from the engagement side, we brought someone from the turnover area, and then make sure that our data scientists work with them. They learn the HR side of business side of it, and also the other side, the engagement manager, learn the data science point of view. And also know that how much time it takes that to run that whole model. It takes you get the data, clean data, making sure the data is right, nothing is missing. And good thing is about HR side that you get a lot of information when you hire them. Hire an employee, you have a lot of information there. But the bigger problem is that there are many systems. How can we actually combine them together? That's the knowledge. Who has it? That the business people, the engagement. They tell you that no, we have data available in Workday or Dayforce, or then the other side we're doing a lot of scheduling. That's a different system we use. How can we actually merge together? They may know that. They may tell you that the keys are the thing. And lastly, example of that. So I'm going to look at the engagement, how we actually improve the engagement. Employee engagement. A lot of the organization, they do employee surveys, employee engagement. For us, that we provide every division have their own targets to improve engagement. So what we actually did that, we work with the team, engagement team, and also you can see that in the center, there is engagement manager. That's purposely put in there to actually bridging that gap, to working with them, and look at that. What are the different surveys that we look into that? What are the questions we asked? And then how do we actually going to calculate? Now the time comes that running a model, ML model, to see what are our targets that? Are we going to improve it by 2% more, 3% more? And then what needs to be done to improve that model? And then what will be the outcome? When the analysis was done, we found out, we merged different other sources. We look at that. If you improve the employee engagement, you will see that your customer satisfaction is also improving. What happens is that happy employee works in the store, any organization, they serve you happily. And then at the end, customer becomes more happy. And we see that increase in there by suggesting that, okay, you work on this area, that's just engagement, you will see the lot of better output. And what happened that? It's also decreased the turnover just by improving one key factor, providing them engagement. And then it wouldn't have been possible that you actually all work together, making sure businesses align and all the target had been set, and then we have all the data available to actually produce that model. Next is that tools and technologies to facilitate integration. That's another challenge comes in that. If you look at the HR world, a lot of the tools that are available, they're just for hiring. Workday, Dayforce, and also scheduling tools. But we use a different tool. When it comes to that, data scientists, they code in Python, or visualization, do in Power BI, or MicroStrategy, or Click, or all of these tools. How can we give these into the hand of them to provide the timely KPIs that they can make decision? And also, we look at that for visualization and the data. We went ahead from, instead of one size fit all, we went about the persona based. And what it did, that we're keeping this main source centralized and creating a different persona. Executives want to have a different KPI versus what's needed in the store, or even in the or any other division. They all have a different KPIs to look at that. Strategy wants to look into different KPIs. So what we developed the visualization tool based on the personas that the persona needed. So we can have a timely access to the KPI so we can make a quick decision. And what happens is that instead of one platform that fits all, we just create a persona. What it did that, it creates efficiency. What happens if the store is accessing hundreds of stores and hundreds of employees are accessing the same tool at the same time, creates slowness. But in the strategy, executives and others, they wanted quick insights. So we created that persona-based tool that you have the timely access to the KPIs. Next, and yes, of course, the role of leadership. This is all not possible if you don't have the buy-in from the leaders. And then buy-in the leader also need to have a data literacy. We have to go back and we're teaching them our own model as well, like how the technology works in the side-by-side to the business. And then we showcasing our processes to the leaders also help us that. So we are educating them each process of each project we do that. We involve them. We kind of making sure that they learn, and then we get their buy-in, and then we see that the culture shift. Once you see the output, any project that you deliver the first time, it takes a longer time to actually develop it. Once you have developed it, you deliver it to them. What happens after that? They build a trust. Once the trust is built, they see the results, you get the buy-in from the leaders. And then what happens then? It comes to you for next time then the problem arises that we want to solve it quickly. And then you already have a buy-in, you can quickly do the POCs, from POCs to actually product. And last one is I'll leave it there for future trends in data-driven strategies. And this is specific to the HR side of it. We're going toward, for machine learning, AI, we're using the Gen AI tools where we are providing them a lot of access to the tools, text-based. They can search their policy document, anything, using the Gen AI, and also making sure that we have the data-savvy leader who understand the business as well as the data. Understanding the data is more important there. And also evolving roles, introducing engagement editor, data translator, as well as we have a product managers, introducing them into the mix so we can make sure that we can deliver it quickly. Not that having a more headcount, but delivering value more quickly to the organization. All right, okay, all right, I'll leave it. Thank you so much over here, and may take a few questions. Thank you. Questions?
Shamek Tomczak from Ocient. Just a quick question from the HR metrics improvement. Have you seen a direct correlation to revenue and other business metrics?
Yes, so we always do that. We correlate that to the sales, as well as we see that, as I said, that the most happier customers are, they always come to you, and you see that the growth. And we see different percentages. Like we see the 1% growth in the improvement. If you see the engagement, you see that engagement double the percentage in productivity of the employees, and then you'll see that 5 to 10% drop in the turnover, employee turnover, and then you'll see that 5% customer satisfaction. And that's all get then linked to, at the end, for our IPLH and SPLH, we look at the share per labor hour, items sold. So those are all always linked to it, to look at that holistically and provide leader. That's as what I said, persona-based outcome, it's more important. As executive, maybe more caring about the revenue growth, but that may not be important for the other areas, to the correlation over there. And then engagement team, they want to look to, okay, how can I improve my engagement? But the executive look at it holistically. So that's what we all those KPIs, when we look at that into the model as well, we'll look at the correlations too.
Thank you.
Right? Question? All right. Thank you, everyone.